Episode 4 of HBO's Task, airing September 28, 2025, ramps up the tension in the cat-and-mouse game between FBI agent Tom Brandis, Mark Ruffalo, and robber Robbie Prendergast, Tom Pelphrey, while deepening the paranoia around the mole in the task force and the encroaching threat from the Dark Hearts biker gang. Based on pre-release buzz and plot teases, here are the key highlights. 1. The task force gets closer to Robbie and Cliff. Plot point. The episode begins with a pivotal lead. Cliff, Raúl Castillo, Robbie Prendergast's, Tom Pelphrey, trash collector accomplice, is identified as a person of interest in the fentanyl robbery after a tip from Peach's coworker, a supporting character connected to the drug trade. Cliff is the focus of extensive surveillance by FBI agent Tom Brandis, Mark Ruffalo, and his task force, who follow him to Ray's home in the Philadelphia suburbs. Robbie, who is referred to as a unnamed man throughout the scene, barely avoids detection during a near-miss raid that marks the conclusion of the sequence. Director Brad Ingelsby, who also serves as the showrunner, leans into heat-like suspense in this high-octane moment, with tight camera work conveying the claustrophobia. Why it stands out, the raid scene, which alternates between Robbie's developing paranoia and the task force's meticulous planning, is a masterwork in pacing. As Tom's crew approaches, there is dramatic irony because the audience is aware that Robbie is at Ray's. One particularly noteworthy instance is when Cliff uses a brief deception to divert the feds, demonstrating his street smarts while also raising suspicions about potential weaknesses in his alliance with Robbie. As all of the players, cops, robbers, and bikers, are pulled into an eventual confrontation, this establishes the episode's subject of convergent roads, which is the metaphor in the title. Character impact. Tom's leadership is put to the test when he requires his team to respond quickly, but he runs the danger of offending Alea, Tony Collette, and Grasso, James Badgedale, by relying too much on instinct rather than protocol, an allusion to his alcoholic impulsivity. Robbie's growing desperation contrasts with Cliff's calm demeanor, hinting at the vulnerability of their alliance. 2. The task force is fragmented by the mole hunt. Plot point. There is intense suspicion that a mole is giving the Dark Hearts biker gang information. Already suspicious, Tom questions his staff, focusing on Grasso's slick charm and Alea's keen pragmatism as possible warning signs. Alea fights back, accusing Tom of allowing personal pain to cloud his judgment, while Tom confronts Grasso about an unaccounted-for phone call in a tense encounter in the task force's war room. Although the identity of the mole is still unknown, the issue is further complicated by a mysterious clue, a burner phone discovered in a locker. Why it is unique, with Ingelsby's script striking a balance between procedural language and unfiltered emotion, this subplot features some of the episode's best dialogue. One of the most popular quotes from the first reviews is Alea's direct response to Tom, "You're chasing ghosts while we're chasing leads." The task force's workplace feels like a pressure cooker, and while the intensity is reminiscent of vintage crime dramas like The Departed, the Philadelphia locale anchors it in brutal realism. The fear is heightened by the cinematography, which features tight close-ups and dark lighting. Character impact. Tom becomes isolated as a result of his eroding trust, which gives his leadership an air of authority and fragility. Alea's annoyance with Tom humanizes her generally stern demeanor, making her a moral compass. Grasso is a wild card because of his uncertainty, which is endearing but evasive, leaving spectators to speculate about his devotion. 3. Robbie's risky juggling act. Plot point. Robbie hides the stolen boy, Sam, at his house while balancing his criminal life with his responsibilities as a family man. In a moving sequence, Robbie's sister Maeve, Emilia Jones, becomes close to Sam through a quiet game without realizing he is a prisoner. Robbie's increasing anxiety as Cliff presses for riskier methods to fence the stolen fentanyl stands in stark contrast to this touching moment. Robbie's crucial choice to meet with a prospective bidder creates a cliffhanger because the transaction might expose him to the government and the Dark Hearts. Why it is unique. This plot, which demonstrates Pelphrey's ability to depict Robbie as both a desperate sibling and a cunning robber, is the episode's emotional core. Shot in warm, soft light, the Maeve-Sam sequence is a momentary respite from the sadness of the show, but it is also filled with dread because viewers are aware of Sam's situation. The episode's topic of convergent paths is highlighted by Robbie's decision to pursue the transaction in spite of Cliff's cautions, as his actions have repercussions in the criminal and law enforcement communities. Character impact: Pelphrey's subtle performance garners accolades as Robbie's duality, loving sister versus reckless criminal, deepens. Because of her naive faith in Robbie, Maeve's innocence raises the stakes. Sam's quiet fortitude suggests a more significant part in upcoming episodes. 4. The growing danger of dark hearts. Plot point: under the leadership of Perry, Jamie McShane, the Dark Hearts strengthened their hold on the Philadelphia drug trade by negotiating information about the stolen fentanyl with street-level dealer Freddie Frias. Perry's brutality is demonstrated in a vicious sequence at a biker club, while racist overtones give the gang's dynamics a layer of social satire. A three-way collision between the bikers, thieves, and feds is set up when a startling betrayal, tied to the mole, discloses that the Dark Hearts are closer to Robbie's operation than he thinks. Why it stands out: the episode has a gritty, almost Western feel thanks to the Dark Hearts storyline, and Perry is a strong antagonist thanks to McShane's eerie portrayal. With its pulsing soundtrack and neon-drenched graphics, the biker bar scene feels like a reference to Sons of Anarchy, but with Ingelsby's trademark emphasis on fractured communities. The shock that reframes the mole investigation and raises the stakes for Episode 5 is the treachery, which has been left unclear to prevent spoilers. Character impact: Robbie's desperation and Tom's emotional instability contrast with Perry's icy pragmatism, which makes him a wildcard threat. Freddie's fear-driven cooperation adds depth to the criminal underworld, showing how fear and greed drive even minor players. 5. Tom's self-reflection. Plot point: Tom struggles with his grief over his late wife and his tense connection with his daughter, Emily, amid the commotion of the inquiry. Emily calls out Tom's drinking during a heated argument at home, making him face his downward spiral. This sets up a silent yet impactful scene in which Tom visits his wife's grave and considers his role as an agent and a father. Why it is unique: as is characteristic of Ingelsby's work, this storyline grounds the episode's high-stakes action in personal stakes. Mayor of Easttown. The burial scene is a heartstopper thanks to Ruffalo's delicate performance, which conveys grief with small gestures like a quivering hand. It's a narrative halt that balances the process and establishes Tom's resolve as the season moves into its second half.